Good afternoon. Welcome to the Wednesday afternoon conference call with Trusts Unlimited. This is Jim George speaking. I'm the non-attorney spokesman and facilitator for Trusts Unlimited, and today is November 6th, 2024. Of course, this is a very unusual day. We've just had a national election, and there's so much going on in the dinar world, in the political world, domestically in this country. So this is going to be a really short call. I've got a lot of individuals I need to contact. And, of course, with what's going on today, I'm getting all kinds of calls and texts and emails asking what effect, if any, this is going to have on the reinstitution of the Iraqi dinar. And I frankly am not going to be able to spend too much time on that subject right now because there's too much else going on that we need to resolve. So I'm going to move quickly through this call. But, you know, the Chinese have a saying, may you live in interesting times, and we certainly do. I think the election that just took place is truly historic and will be studied in detail 100 years from now from political scientists around the world. We have an individual that won an election that had been sued, impeached, indicted, removed from state ballots, and shot. And somehow he managed to win this election comfortably. When people make decisions about voting, they vote for three things, essentially. They either vote for their party, they vote a personality, or they vote policies. I think what happened here is that the American people voted policies because this was an unusual election. We had 4 years of Trump, and we had 4 years of Biden and Harris. And I think at the end of the day, people simply, pragmatically looked at the situation and said, we had peace and prosperity under Trump, and we didn't have it under Biden and Harris. And I don't think it's any more complicated than that. But it also occurred to me that history is repeating itself, because when Donald Trump first entered the Oval Office, he took with him a bust of Andrew Jackson. Well, Andrew Jackson was a Democrat, and of course Trump is a Republican, so that seemed kind of odd. I mean, what's the backstory there? Well, Andrew Jackson was the hero of the War of New Orleans that expelled the British in 1812, and he also ended the second central bank in this country. Now, a lot of people think the War of 1812 was about Britain reclaiming the colonies as a possession. And to some extent, that might have been something that they had hoped for. But the reason for the War of 1812 was the fact that the United States of America refused to renew its contract with the Central Bank of London, meaning we no longer used their currency, which we had to pay interest for. Instead, pursuant to Article 1, Section 10 of the Constitution, we created an interest-free people's currency. And to further that, he ended the Central Bank of London, so we were completely separate and apart from England. And that is what the War of 1812 was about. Well, we successfully expelled the British, but we incurred so much debt in the process that we reestablished the Central Bank of London in 1816. But even that did not last very long. It wasn't until 1913 that we got the third and final central bank. It's referred to as the Federal Reserve, but it's not federal. It's a private corporation, and there is no reserve. They simply print money and charge us interest to use it. And how do we pay them back? With the newly created federal income tax. Now, from about 1880 to about 1910 was when the United States was its most wealthy. There was no central bank at the time, and government was funded by bonds and by tariffs. And that's exactly what Donald Trump is trying to bring back. And this is also why they've done everything they can to remove him. In this election cycle, Donald Trump has been repeatedly saying we're going to return to a golden age, meaning we will eliminate the Federal Reserve. We will go back to the people's money pursuant to Article 1, Section 10 of the Constitution, and that being the case, we don't need a federal income tax. We can go back to a tariff. Now, Trump has already started to suggest how he's going to remove the federal income tax. He said, for example, there will be no tax on tips, there will be no tax on overtime, and there will be no tax on Social Security. Well, when Social Security was established, it was tax-free until someone introduced a law in the Senate to tax Social Security. That senator's name was Joseph Biden. So we're ridding ourselves of a lot of kleptocrats and really cleaning house through this election cycle. However, I think it would be a mistake to think that we're going to have an orderly transfer of power. We were told that if Donald Trump was ever president again, he would never relinquish power. Well, I think we're about to watch the Democrats do the very same thing, because I don't think this is over for a couple of reasons. Number one, where's Kamala Harris? Where's her concession speech? We're told she's going to speak today. However, her speaker, her representative, did not say she will be making her concession speech. He said that Kamala Harris will be addressing the nation and her supporters. That's not the same thing as a concession speech. I hope I'm wrong. What I suspect is that by not conceding, they're setting up a scenario where they're not going to certify the election of Donald Trump. They have until January 20th to have the control they think they need prior to the inauguration of another president. So this is the situation we find ourselves in. The left in this country operates in a post-constitutional world. Despite the fact we're a constitutional representative republic, they simply ignore that. They ignore the First Amendment with their censorship. They ignore the Second Amendment. They've attacked the Second Amendment for repeal more than every other amendment in the Bill of Rights. They want a federal gun buyback, violation of the Second Amendment. They want a central bank digital currency, monitor all our purchases, violation of our Fourth Amendment right to privacy. We know with what they've done to Donald Trump that they flushed due process, the Fifth Amendment, down the toilet. They know that the Seventh Amendment was denied him when a judge basically nullified a jury in a case in New York. And we also know they violated the Eighth Amendment with excessive fines. They've done everything to try to end his presidency, destroy his business, and incarcerate him. Jamie Raskin, a Democrat, has said that the plan is still to imprison Donald Trump. So this thing isn't over. The next 60 days are going to be very interesting, because what we should witness is an orderly transfer of power. And what we're going to witness from the left is everything they falsely acclaimed that the Trump administration was going to do. They've also promised that had Kamala Harris been elected, they were going to stack the Supreme Court. They were going to end the Senate filibuster. They were going to pass their $93 trillion Green New Deal. And they were going to end the Electoral College and go to a pure democracy. We are not a democracy. We're a constitutional representative republic. But because they thought they were going to reacquire power, they were going to take away basically all minority rights. Well, it blew up in their face. But they're not going to go quietly. Now, how does that affect what we're doing? Well, one of the things that I think Donald Trump did was he holds, or at least he put in the Treasury, I think it was 4 trillion Iraqi dinar as a reserve currency. Well, the revaluation of that currency would be enough money to cut our national debt in half. That wouldn't happen with a Democrat. It could happen with Donald Trump. And the other issue, of course, is the establishment of our Family Asset Protection Trust, which protects all of your guaranteed protections under the Bill of Rights, and specifically the Fourth and Fifth Amendments to privacy and due process. So this is where we find ourselves today. As I said, this is going to be a short call. This election is transformative. If the left will accept the fact that Donald Trump, he didn't win fair and square. He won after having been handicapped, having been slandered, and he still managed to win this election. So we will see what happens in the next 60 days and beyond. But for those of us that have currencies and those of us that understand it is time to exercise our rights in the Bill of Rights, your ability to speak freely without being censored, your ability to keep and bear arms, your ability to maintain your privacy, to put your assets in trust, to protect your privacy from the public, to be able to transfer your wealth 100 cents on the dollar to your family. All of these things are available to you through the establishment of your Family Asset Protection Trust. I strongly suggest you contact us to get our initial no-obligation package. It does contain everything you need if you wish to proceed, but you're under no obligation to do so. But you really need to bone up on the benefits available to you through the establishment of a trust. There is a reason why every wealthy person in this country and every politician has their estates, their net worth, all of their assets in these trusts. There is a reason for that, and you'll understand that when you get our package. You can contact us by phone or email. Our email address is trustsunlimitedllc@gmail.com. That's trustsunlimitedllc@gmail.com, and our phone service is 307-274-4122. That's 307-274-4122. Please contact us to get our initial no-obligation package. It's time to get with the program because this country is returning to a constitutional representative republic and an understanding respect for the Bill of Rights and the inalienable rights that we all enjoy. I'm sorry this is a short call, but to be honest with you, I'm very interested in listening to what's going on today, and I am getting inundated with calls, emails, and texts, so I'm going to be back and forth on the phone and trying to glean as much information as I can from the news. But this country just dodged a bullet for the second time, and I think we're in a very, very good place in history for our children and our grandchildren. Have a great week, everyone. We'll be back next Wednesday, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. Have a great week. Bye-bye now.